You know, the healing journey takes place on so many different levels. It's really funny how my mother had certain experiences with my father figure. The same experiences that I had with the gentleman. They just happen to have the same name. How funny is that? But the journey to healing means you don't hate the person. You hate the crimes that may have been committed, but you don't hate the person. But along with not hating the person, you are loving and supportive of yourself through the experience. You see, some experiences happen to strengthen us. And with these experiences, I know not to toy with another heart. I know not to masquerade as a different person. I'm going to be real. I know not to mess with other people's finances. I know not to steal. Now, some of these lessons have been learned long ago, okay? One thing you don't do is you don't steal. You don't steal a heart, and you don't steal a person's money, and you don't steal a person's food. All of these things that we learn during a lifetime, you know? But when I say, love of my life, you are my friend, that's God. To who I can depend, yeah. So I'm not retaping this. So I made a mistake. I'm not fixing it, guys. I'll tell you right now, okay? So all of us are on this journey. And like I said, my mother noticed a lot of selfishness and a lot of getting over and a lot of other women in my father's background when she was dating him. And I too learned all of this through dealing with a person, but I didn't have to learn it the same way. You see, sometimes you learn these things through certain experiences. You know, my dreams can be tattletales at times. And you cannot be in a person's energy. You cannot be experiencing a physicality with a person and not come out. You see, I was going to date this guy, okay? And later on, afterwards. And through some of his actions, as well as a simple touch, do you know that you can hug a person and certain information come through them because of, how do I explain this? Wow. It's like a synchronicity, like when you're dancing with a person, okay? You're dancing with a person, there's certain energy that fluctuates between the two of you while you're doing the movement, right? Along with that movement, there's certain exchanges. You know, I had an experience, not too recently, but it recently enough, where I had a relative who I love tremendously, and the person who they're connected with. When I gave the person a hug, information, there's certain things that a person can never tell you, but that you can sense, that you can feel. This is the reason why it's so important that you're able to use intelligence that God gave you. You know, intuitively, you know. When you're using your intuition, when you're tapping in, some things won't have to be said. You'll be feeling them. And this person who I love tremendously, I couldn't really tell them, I couldn't connect with them and tell them what they were doing that was wrong. Because how could I get this information? She would have thought that the person shared this information with me. How do you explain certain things? It's like throughout my lifetime, information, my intuition has been percolating in so many different ways, but I could not express it. Sometimes a person talking to you mentally, let's say somebody is angry with you, but they're smiling in your face. I didn't understand. I said, am I having these feelings? I'm arguing with myself here, okay? When the other person is merely stating this. They're in my presence, smiling in my face, wanting to hurt me. And I'm saying, I would never have those feelings towards another person. So I went ahead and scratched it out. I told you I didn't even want to even tap in on that, because I said, no, something is wrong. Not realizing that this person is showing me who they are. You know, Maya Angelou must have learned this years ago when she made that statement. Believe the person the first time. believe what they're saying and believe through their actions what they're saying to you. But I didn't want to believe it because when it's your family members, you don't want to know this. You don't want to acknowledge this because you say, they only love me. Why would they want to treat me this way? Your feelings and other people's feelings are totally separate. Not to be connected when there's so many things that are off. The other person was trying to tell me, well, they wanted to tell me, but they could not because I'm relative to this person. And you don't want to speak against a person's family member because that sometimes can be a fight within itself. But I could feel this person and I could feel the pain that they were going through. Every time I hugged them, I felt like crying because that person was crying inside. And I wanted so much to tell the person that I love, to talk to that person. And when I trickled around it, I was led to believe that, mind your business. So I pulled back and I did not get involved. But how many people can honestly say that you're in a relationship where you can cry on this person's shoulder and they will hold you and not judge you? How many people are in a relationship where you know that this person is the love of your life and you want to hold their hand throughout the process? You are willing to walk with them through the mud because you know that you can trust this person, that you can honor this person, that you can love this person. A lot of people are just in relationships because they just want to be with someone. They don't want to be alone. And I'm going to tell you, that's a very unhealthy position to be in. I am at the happiest place with myself that I've ever been. Now, I didn't know this was even possible, so I'm just sharing this with you. You know, even when I'm feeling uncomfortable or when I'm feeling, I know that I can tap in and talk to God about it. You know, God made us not to totally be alone. You can have someone and that person can be your counterpart and that can be your very best friend. Even when you don't like them, when they're doing something that you don't like, you can still share how you feel and they're not going to take it in a negative way because they're going to know your heart. Your heart is genuine. God gave you that heart to feel, to understand, to know. You know, and to experience different things, you know. Who knew? Michael Jackson, when he was in love, puppy love, some people might call it, with Diana Ross. If you notice, his music back then was innocent, but it was at a loving perspective that you can't touch. Like MC Hammer said, you can't touch this. I noticed that when I am truly in love, my poetry is on a level like no other. I've given poetry out, and I know the poetry that I gave to a special, unique individual who I'm still friends with to this day, but we don't speak because, you know, he's now married and happy, and I love the fact that he is happily married to this woman because the two of them, they are an asset to this world, to this earth. And I would want nothing more for him than to have that. But when we were together, I wrote a lot of poetry and he collected them. And I know he put them in a book. And I know he's going to let me know a couple of years from now. So, because that's just who he is. He's just a beautiful person. And when Michael Jackson was in love with Diana Ross, his music was very different. You notice his music grew. It grew from a loving perspective to a more conscious connection. And if you listen to Michael Jackson's music throughout the years, throughout his lifetime, throughout the expansion of it, you will get to see, you'll be able to breathe into it, understand it, and be able to break it down. You know, I used to break my kids up into groups. And they would get into groups and I would give them different songs. And they'd have to break down what that song meant. And I noticed how heavy my boys were. Those boys, man, they would break down a song and they would connect it to their relationships and connect it to their lives and even connect it to their mothers, how they saw their mothers being treated. When you're dealing with a single mom, It's not something that you should take very lightly. Those children are operating on a different level, to where they love their mother and they want what's best for their mother. You don't throw your lovely valuables out into the water and forget about them. You don't throw them in the garbage. You don't trample over them, because a heart is still a heart, you know? It is so important that we look at our relationships and how we treat each other. Even when we are not feeling so good, you can separate and tell the person you need time. You can take a pillow and punch into it. You can tell that person that you need to be held if that's what you need. Sometimes people don't know how to say, can you hold me? Sometimes, you know, you can just be quiet and just enjoy the moment, you know? I never knew all of the different levels of energy existed like I did when I actually left the family and went on the road to solitude, I would call it. Even in working with other people, you get to know so many things about these individuals. You know, it's important that we tap in and we get to know who we are. Sometimes when we're meditating, we are tapping in, getting that chance to really connect with God, getting to know Him on a level that you would not ordinarily know Him. I grew up with ministers as grandparents, and the connection that I thought they had, they did not have. And that's not to say it was bad or good. It's just that their connection is very different than my connection with God. You know, and it's all because maybe they didn't know better. When you know better, you do better, right? So as we're growing, as we're knowing, there are meditation classes and some things online that will help you to understand meditation and how you can connect with God and be able to share everything with Him, you know? Or to some people, to her, okay? So it all depends on how you see God, you know? When my stepmother had an office in the front room of the house that we grew up in high school, the sun used to come and shine so brightly in that room. That was the perfect place for meditation. And I thought I must have had the hidden secret, because everyone didn't come and meditate in that room. Sometimes my younger brother Ken, would come and sit next to me and we'd meditate in that room together. But he didn't come as often as I did. And maybe he didn't know. Maybe he didn't understand. Sometimes when you sit, I mean, they would be looking all over the house for me, and they say, oh, let's look in that room. And they look and they see. 3 hours later, I'm still meditating in that same spot. There's a connection that you make with nature and God. And that sun and God, very close, very close. So, regardless of where you choose to make your meditation, we're all learning and growing. So, whatever your connection is to God, bless it through time. Bless it by investing. So that's been my word. I certainly hope that you're going to have a beautiful day, because it is a wonderful thing to be able to enjoy nature and appreciate it on so many levels. Thank you for joining us. That's my word, Indigo Moon. Have a wonderful day.